South Point offers all the types of entertainment you'd expect at a first-class Las Vegas resort. Did you know our 400-seat showroom is one of Las Vegas's top destinations for live entertainment? Enjoy live performances by classic Vegas entertainers, bands, and today's hottest comedians, plus a rock and dance floor. You can also enjoy live entertainment at the Grand View Lounge, where you'll feel all the vibes of old Las Vegas. Enjoy the music, and if you love to laugh, don't miss The Dirty at 12:30, our very own free comedy show. Every Friday night at 12:30 a.m. in the Grand View Lounge. The Dirty is 100% free, so arrive early. Go to southpointcasino.com or call the box office at 77136 for today's performances at the showroom and the Grand View Lounge. When you're ready for your favorite cocktail, stop in and unwind at one of our 7 specialty lounges. There's a bar around every corner, because you're in Vegas, baby. South Point Casino has plenty of attractions for the whole family. Catch a movie. Our 16-screen movie theater includes 2 XD Extreme screens for the ultimate in viewing, sound, and luxury. After the show, treat the family to a variety of treats at our old-fashioned ice cream parlor, Kate's Corner. We scoop up a variety of creamy concoctions, including smoothies, hand-dipped cones, milkshakes, malts, sodas, and sundaes. At Kate's, there's something for everyone. And if you've still got time to spare, our bowling center might be right up your alley. Voted Best of Las Vegas, it's a great place for friends and family fun. 64 lanes, a pro shop, snack bar, and arcade. And while the kids are bowling, you can play slots and sip on a drink in the Alley Cat Lounge while overlooking the lanes. For our more serious and professional bowlers, the South Point is also home to a separate tournament bowling plaza.
Happy Monday, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. We are live in Las Vegas, shooting from the beautiful South Point studio. This is Sports by the Book, here to help you make educated bets and, of course, win some money, trying to give you sports betting tips and advice all week long, 7 days a week. You can find us here on Sports by the Book YouTube channel. A lot to go through from the wild card weekend. Of course, all 4 division winners move on in the AFC. Washington Commanders upset Tampa Bay to move on. And then we have a big game coming up tonight between the Minnesota Vikings and the Los Angeles Rams. So I'm excited to get into that. We'll also cover some NHL and some college basketball, as we always do. Could possibly even have a special guest on the desk here with us. Alongside me, professional sports bettor Kenny White. I'm Alex White. Happy to be with you for the next hour. We have 3 working behind the glass, Andrew, Ryan, and Vince. I appreciate all of your help for us throughout this show. Please join in the chat. We'd love to hear from you, where you're from, what you're looking forward to, how you did this weekend. Let us know that as well. So it was a little bit of a tough weekend for me this wild card weekend, but how did you do, and what did your overall takes from it?
Hey, Alex. Good morning. I thought it was a little tough weekend too. Couple of tough beats during the weekend. Overall, nothing crazy.
A lot of
it was
unders.
just a busy weekend. Well, 4 of the 5 went under, and I talked about that before. Last year, 5 of the 6 went over, and every year is different. You don't know, what you have on the field, but predominantly you're going to lean to unders, and it's now 21 and 14 under since 2018. So, and that's still not a big number. It could go 8, 7-0, or whatever, 6 games, 6-0 over next year, and this game could go over tonight. You have no idea. Well, you kind of do, but it does go, up and down, and it's a roller coaster ride. So you just have to manage your money correctly and do the right things, bet the right way, and do your homework, get the best numbers.
How were the favorites? Because I made a case for the 2 small favorites in Tampa Bay and the Chargers, and that did not fare well for me. But I mean, the Bills and the Ravens looked dominant over their competition. So overall, what was the number for the favorites?
They were 3-2.
3-2. Okay.
Yeah, 3-2. And this time of year, it's amazing that what I learned in my years at LVSC, looking at really making the line for the book, that you really have to, when you begin the year and you got your ratings and games start, you do adjust quickly. But as the year goes on, you don't want to be knee-jerk reaction, and you you're much more conservative in how you adjust your power ratings. But this time of year, it's amazing when somebody gets hot, you need to adjust quickly on them, or you're going to be betting against them, and the entire world's going to be betting on them, and that team goes right down the field and scores every time. And maybe Buffalo's that team, because that team's they're going to be the number's going to move. Now, if Buffalo win, well, they've got Kansas City on their side, so those two teams are really good. But
they've got to get past Baltimore first.
If let's say if Baltimore, and that could be a close game, and that's a really bad example. Maybe the example could be in the NFC, and it may not be, because we really don't have that one dominating team. There are three good teams left in the AFC, three really good teams, and any one of those three could win. So, but if let's say Kansas City wins 49-0, and Baltimore and Buffalo play to a 17-14 game, and it's a really close game, everyone's going to bet Kansas City the next week. And they've been there before, done that before, and they've won. So that number will be overinflated. So making a number for the book and making your own number are really two different things, because you don't want to make those type of adjustments, because you've already seen that team play 18, 19 games now. It's
interesting, and you just brought up the three really good AFC teams, and we're still trying to figure out the NFC, and the Lions, of course, are on a bye, and I think they are that dominant team, but I also thought the Eagles were that team. They did not dominate the Green Bay Packers by any means. It was a big turnover advantage for Philadelphia, and both the Packers and the Chargers, who I heard a lot of people make cases for on both sides, could be a sleeper team, were really struggled with the turnovers. Of course, Justin Herbert had 4 interceptions. That's more than he had in the entire season. And then the Packers also lost the turnover battle 4-0. So that was unfortunate for them. But do you think that's just a tough match for
They win the game if they don't turn them over 4 times. So.
But it could have just been a tough matchup for Philadelphia. We still think they are one of the dominant NFC teams.
No, they are. They are a really good football team. And their weakness in the year was their defense, but they've shown the defense has improved throughout the year. That I think they allow the least amount of points of anybody in the NFL. And so we know they've improved. Yep. The Green Bay team, I thought, had a very good defense. I don't know. They just did not make plays when they needed to make plays, and they didn't force Philadelphia into really going into up-tempo offense and throw the football and stretch the field and put up a bunch of points in the game. I was very shocked at that, but the Eagles did cover, though, so they got the cover.
Battle of health, which you always say, too, right? In this sport, we're seeing it in college football and the NFL, and the Packers suffered more injuries throughout that game as well. So it's really who is the healthiest and strongest to make it to the end to get to the Super Bowl. But let's talk about tonight's game. We've got the Vikings finished 14-3 on the year, 11-5 against the spread. The Rams 10-7 did win that division, and 9-8 ATS. Both teams 5-3 against the spread on neutral or on the road. The Vikings 5-3-1, but the Rams 5-3 overall. So when I first talked about this game last week, I brought up the fact that the Vikings in the regular season played the Lions, lost, and then had to face the Rams, were kind of beat up and lost to LA in that game. But one thing I did not bring up is it was a short week. And of course, it was a short week for both of them. The Rams played the Raiders the week before, did have an earlier game, and the Vikings were the late game against the Lions. But both of them had to turn around and play on a Thursday. Now we have both of them pretty well rested coming into this game. Moves to Arizona, neutral site for both teams. Now the Vikings are a 2.5-point favorite. We've seen that line bump up a little bit from when the Rams had a little bit of home field there, and the total is 48. Where do you want to start with this matchup between these two teams and the year that both of them had? I mean, especially the Vikings, just an outstanding year for O'Connell and his team.
Yeah, and Kevin O'Connell, they made the right move, it looks like, letting Kirk Cousins go. They had Sam Darnold on their roster last year. He was the backup. So they got to see those two guys play every day in practice. And Cousins started because he had the bigger contract. And then they knew, hey, we let Kirk Cousins go because Sam Darnold's going to step in, and he may even be better, and he has been. He did a great job. And O'Connell, had a great year his first year. Second year was a horrible year. And then this year he had a great year. So question marks on him maybe have been erased that he's a pretty good football coach because he's motivated this team. They improved the defense, and they're right now I've got them top 10 in both offensive and defensive categories, and the points scored, points allowed say that as well. They played a very good schedule, slightly above average, and so is the Rams. Strength of schedule in the NFL by this time of the year is pretty equal for everybody, but the Vikings have performed up to the number. I think I started them at like a 95 or 96 to begin the year. Now they're a 104.5. So they've improved almost 8 points in the beginning of the year. The Rams were like a 97. They're a 103. They've improved 6 points in the beginning of the year. Both these teams have really overachieved. The Vikings have more performed to that rating, though, where I have a 105 performance rating on them throughout the year, and the Rams a 100. So I think the Vikings have performed better. And I think they're more consistent on both sides of the ball than the Rams are. It's amazing that the Rams' defense has been great, but the offense I've got ranked 18th right now, and they're 20th in scoring.
I believe that is a lot to do with the offensive line, and I think you had the Rams pretty low in that category to start off the year, right? And Matthew Stafford has had to struggle and do a lot on his own here.
Then they had more injuries as the year went on the offensive line, but over time, those guys get experience. They're going to get better, and they have gotten better. They've shown that. They covered their last 5 games going into the Seattle game where they rested all their starters and didn't play anybody. But in meaningful games, they went 8-2 ATS down the stretch after a poor start. They were 1-5 ATS to start the year. They were 1-4 straight up and looked like they were, left for dead, and then Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford turned it around.
An interesting storyline for me in this one is looking at both of their number one running backs. I mean, Kyren Williams finished the regular season 7th in rushing yards, just under 1,300 yards for him, 4.1 yards per carry, 14 touchdowns. And then Aaron Jones on the other side for the Vikings, 9th in rushing yards, 4.5 yards per carry, but just 5 touchdowns for him. But when you look at the first matchup between these two and you look at the yards per carry for these two, neither could run the ball. The Rams, 3.3 yards per carry. They had a total of 107 rushing yards, and the Vikings had just 64. The Rams defense held them to 2.9 yards per carry. So will we be able to see some adjustments and them be able to get their run game going?
Both are going to try to, that's for sure. They have to. When you have pocket passers, you have to be able to run the ball to set up the pass. But the Rams have gone through times that they knew they couldn't run, and Matthew Stafford threw the ball 50 times in a game, and they were just fine.
Yep. Because
he's got great receivers, and he uses the short passing game like the run game. So not sure if Sam Darnold can do that, but both teams will see. I think it's going to be a slugfest. I think that these two are pretty good defenses right now of what I've seen throughout the year. The Rams defense allowed just 24 points their last 3 games. They played much, much better. And on the year, Minnesota's defense allowed just 19 points per game on a median number. So the Rams will be playing for LA. This was supposed to be a home game, but all the fires in Los Angeles have forced them out. And I'm not sure how many people from LA will go to the game and if they'll have any type of home advantage or if it'll be equal or what. But I know the Rams, that'll be, the calling card that they're going to use, the coaching staff, to fire those guys up. We're doing this for everybody in LA.
That is tough, though, because we do know the Minnesota Vikings fans, they do travel very well, and they've been prepared to travel for this game. Well, I guess only since last week, because they didn't know if they were going to have the number 1 overall and get to be the home team.
True.
But that loss to the Lions, and they knew that they were on the road in this one. So you think slugfest, totals 48. The first game we did see 30-20 was the final, would have been over this 48. Did you already bet this under? Is that your play?
No, because I didn't have a big enough difference, but I would like to play a teaser. I haven't done it yet. The Rams plus 8.5 and under 54.
I like that, getting 8.5. I do think that LA will be able to keep this close. It should be a good game. I think it's going to turn out really good. We have 2 really good quarterbacks who can throw the ball and great receivers on both sides. I brought up the run game. I didn't even bring up Justin Jefferson and Addison and Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp on the other side. Do we want to look at some prop bets? I do have all of those players' medians on the road and for the year, so we can look at
we
rushing.
Don't really even need a road game because it's kind of a neutral. I feel like it is. Maybe it's a slight Ram home game, but I think their overall stats would be good.
Cam Akers still on here in this app. He is questionable. There was an illness going through the Vikings backfield, but I did not hear anything about Aaron Jones, so that is good. So let's start with Kyren Williams. On the year, his median touchdown is 1 on the road and for the year, finding his yards right here, 87 and 90 on the road. We've got 83.5. I don't know if that is enough for us to go over there in the rushing yards.
Sounded pretty close. Would you say his median's 87?
87 throughout all games.
Yeah.
Taking just the road games is 90 for him. 83.5 is what they are offering.
Yeah, that's tough. I don't think there's a big enough difference there for you to go over that. I'm just pulling up my numbers, what I had right there, 80, yeah, right, 87, 20 for 87, and you're right, he does score a touchdown. So he scores a touchdown more often than not. What's his touchdown price to score a touchdown?
Let's check that out right now. Anytime touchdown for Kyren Williams, minus 145.
Yeah, that's you don't want to lay that price in this type of game. So I think that's probably the right price. They kept you off that bet.
I laid $2 with Saquon Barkley yesterday and could not even get there, and he did slide and could have scored at the end there. But let's go to Aaron Jones on the other side. So his anytime touchdown is plus 125. I did tell you, though, he just has 5 on the year. Typically go to the receivers there in the red zone. So, but taking a look at his rushing yards, so his median on the year throughout all games is 67 yards per game. And on the road, though, 78. They are offering 58.5 for Aaron Jones.
Yeah, you got a slight to the over, and you got a veteran back that's been here in these, when I watched him with Green Bay, man, at the end of the year, it's just like Derrick Henry, these good backs that are experienced. They pace themselves for this type of season, and they get themselves in great shape, and they're ready for the playoffs if they're healthy. And Jones seems like he's pretty healthy, and like I said, he's done this before. I'm trying to pull up his page because sometimes the median number doesn't do it because they may have had some games where they were injured and didn't play a lot. He has a couple of those games. He has always been that way.
Wow.
But when you look at his last 5, he didn't get the big yardage in the last 5 games. They really held the 3 opponents, Seattle, Green Bay, and Detroit, all held him down pretty good. He rushed well against Atlanta and Chicago. He ran well against the Bears on the road. It's all who you're up against. He's up against, I think, a pretty good front line that has done a nice job stopping the run this year. So that number's probably pretty close, but if they get the lead, you want to marry your prop bets with kind of how you think the game's going to go. And if you like Minnesota, you would think he'd go over. If you like the Rams, maybe you think he's going to go under.
So the Rams were 22nd in the lead in rushing yards allowed, allowing an average of 130, 22nd.
Oh, well, that can be also 1 or 2 bad games that they played poorly in, can definitely swing those averages. So I'd have to run through their, games played and who they played and when they played, because they did have some bad games. They allowed 41 to the Cardinals and Kyler Murray. Maybe Kyler Murray ran for 200 yards that game. They gave up 37 to the Eagles. Maybe Saquon ran for 200 yards that game, and they give up 42 to the Bills. So in those games, maybe they give up a lot of rushing yards. I don't know. And it doesn't look like there's a lot of great running teams on their schedule, but I think that, each game's got to be looked at kind of individually and give them a number. I don't like the 130. That seems like a lot of rushing yards. If that was the case and they were below average against the run, you would want to go over with Aaron Jones.
Yes, Aaron Jones sitting here at 58.5. Median is higher on that one as well. So it might be a possibility for that prop bet. I do want to ask you, because we've seen it year after year, with Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes, and we might not see him have the best regular season year, but Patrick Mahomes is going to find him in the big games. Is there a case that we can make here for Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford trying to find his guy in the end zone and relying on him, trusting him in this big playoff game? Cooper Kupp is getting a pretty good plus price here, anytime touchdown scorer, because it has been a lot of Puka Nacua this year. So plus 175 on Cooper Kupp to score a touchdown. Is that enough?
No, it doesn't. That number just seems so low to me. I just don't see that.
For how many? His median is 0 throughout the year.
Well, that's why he's plus money. If his median was 1,
right,
that means he scores a touchdown more than he doesn't, and he would be a minus guy. So he missed some time early in the year. As of late, though, what I don't like is the amount of targets. So is he 100% healthy? We don't know. Stafford only threw to him 3 times in the San Francisco game.
Yep.
That they won 12-6. He only threw to him 3 times in the Jet game the next week, and he threw to him 3 times against Arizona. So 9 targets, and only completed 4 of those 9. Cooper Kupp's a guy that is a great route runner and with great hands, and he gets open. He knows where he's supposed to be. Maybe he's got an injury that we don't know about, because you want to see what you normally see. 14 targets, 7 targets, 10 targets, 11 targets. That's when he came back from the injury. And then all of a sudden they started to dwindle, 6, 8, 3, 3, 3. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure of his health.
Positive is he did get 2 full weeks.
Yes, he did.
Because Sean McVay did rest most of the star guys in the last game of the regular season. So they will come into this, you would think, very healthy.
Yeah, and
as healthy as you can be in the football season.
If I used just the median and not even took the first game that he came back, because he was 5 for 8, and I took the 5 games after that, he's going to get targeted 9 times, catch 6.5 passes for 86 yards. That's what you expect out of Cooper Kupp. But for me, I worry, don't know, in injury-wise with him.
Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, a couple other guys you can look at on the Vikings side. But really, at 3 o'clock, Football Frenzy, I know Ryan and Jeff are going to go through all of these prop bets and give as much information as they can. If there's any more medians that you do want, they'll let me know. But otherwise, we do have some college basketball and NHL to get to, too.
Yeah, I was going to look at Justin Jefferson because he's really targeted. Wow. Sam Darnold looks for him. The last 4 games of the year, 14, 13, 11, and 9. Now, they did go down, but those were like 4 of the 5 biggest targeted games for him, and he ended up catching 28 passes in 4 games, and I would think that's around where his median is in passing yards. And the first time against the Rams, caught 8 out of 9 passes for 115 yards.
Wow. That is why his number is really high. It's 91.5.
Yeah.
Of course, the most of all receivers, but his median is only 85 on the year and 70 on the road. So, of course, we'll just take one really long reception there. But
yeah, I'll tell you what his long in receptions is, because he's every game got a big reception, it looks like.
It's 30.
30, yeah.
Yeah.
30. He's going to catch a pass for 30 yards, but that may, this guy's going to catch 6, 7 passes. There's no doubt about it. He does that every game against no matter who he's playing against. But again, not the greatest of defenses that he played against. So, all right. Basketball.
Did you say what your number was now that it is not in LA?
Yeah, I didn't. I asked my dad that, and he said, well, don't you think the Ram fans will still travel? And I don't know. I don't know what they'll be. I have a 1-point difference. I had the Vikings 1 point, and I gave the Rams full advantage and made the Rams 1 if they were playing at home. And now I make the Vikings 1 or 1.5. I could even make them. But then again, if the Rams have more fans, I would want to give something for them. So tough call. That's why the only thing, if I was going to make a bet on the game, I'd make a teaser and take the Rams, hoping it's a close game and a low scoring game. plus 8.5 and under 54, but you don't want to lay a big price on that, and if you do, I just pass it.
Yeah, it would probably be about minus 140. I think the same game teasers are these days. So, all right, let's get into, we've got 3 hockey games on the board. We'll start there, and then we will switch over to some college basketball, and we'll kind of rapid fire through there. While we're grabbing our sheets, I am going to check in with the chat, but we can start off with the Florida Panthers and the Philadelphia Flyers. This is the third time these two are meeting on the year.
Oh, good. That's good to have their past history and what they've done this year. Any revenge?
Well, Florida won both of them. They won at home on November 9th, and they won in Philly December 5th. Won by 2 the last time they played, and won by 1 goal. 4-3 was that first game. It was pretty tight there.
I need to get my screen updated. I usually give you the odds, what they are, so you can analyze the game, and I don't have I want to make sure I have the most updated odds here at the South Point. What are they, $1.80?
$1.80.
Okay.
$1.80, we have a minus 176, a little bit to the over in this one. So taking a look at these two, the Panthers are 9th in goals for, 3.26. They are tied for 17th in goals against, 3.07. The Flyers tied for 15th in goals for, and they are 30th in goals allowed, 3.47. So we are expecting quite a few goals in this one. I do like getting over 6 and at a nice plus price there.
Yeah, I see that. You have both teams have scored more than their ranking is higher offensively than it is defensively. So
yes.
that hopefully that matchup. What were the scores? The first 2 games really doesn't matter. They could have been low. You still got to make your number on this game and not use that situation. But
4-3 was the first one, and 7-5 was the second one in Philadelphia.
Yeah, so they were 2-0 over, and now you're going to try to win the third one. And I see a 5.5. Over a quarter. So you might end up getting a 5.5, and you only need 6 goals in that game.
And you made a great point on Bet the Gambit. You were talking about Florida and how they had struggled to score. It hasn't been great, but they did have 3 against the Bruins in that loss. They lost 4-3. They put 4 up in Utah. They won that one 4-1, but then the Avs held them to just 1 goal. And then the game before that, Penguins, they won 3-2. So been a little bit up and down for Florida, but I think they'll find success here against the Flyers.
These teams don't. I mean, they shake it pretty quick that you just can't really bank on them going bad for a long period of time unless there's really a problem in the locker room or with the coach. And I don't think that's the situation there. So they should get back to their ways. And I can see you're over there. Calgary at Chicago. South Point opened Calgary $1.40 on the road. It's been bet up to $1.60. The total 5.5 over. Bet up to 6. Interesting. I think Chrissy Andrews and crew might like this game under because they were the only 5.5 over when they opened.
So nothing there on the side. I have Calgary minus 155 on the road against Chicago. So the numbers are right there. Chicago 2-8 in their last 10 games, and they're 9-12 at home. Calgary, they've been a little bit better on the road. I've been talking about them as a home team, but they're 13-7-1 on the road now. So that would be the side. That would be the way I played it. You're right. We lean more to the under here. Is that a big enough difference? 5.5 over minus 123.
Yeah, it's you've got a pretty good difference there. Enough to make a play under 6. That's for sure. The side's right there though. 155 and it's 160. I mean, the book number is getting higher than your number.
Flames 27th in goals for, but 14th in goals against, so better defensively for them, holding teams at 2.98. The Blackhawks are right there for both 29th in goals for and 28th in goals against. But Peter Mesrick, coming off a big win over Colorado, held them to just 1 goal. So it would be an underplay if we were going to play that.
I like what you said about Calgary, that their offense has been below average and their defense looks like it's been pretty good.
Yes.
Okay, you got 2 totals. Talked me into. And the last game, Kings at the Oilers. Edmonton opened $1.70. Has been bet up to 210. 5.5 over 20 is the total.
A really good Pacific Division matchup here between these two of the 3 top. It's these two and the Knights kind of fighting for that division right now. So had Edmonton minus 160. You added in some for the streak going because they have won 5 home games. So nothing there, right? That comes to about 182.
Wouldn't have been either way. You had $1.57. They have one right here at the South Point. What did I say? $1.80 they're up to?
They're up to, yes.
Yeah, $1.80. So there was nothing either way in that game, and the total's right there.
Total's right there as well. Looking at the Kings, 10-9-4 on the road, and Edmonton 14-7-1 at home, 7-2-1 in their last 10. So,
what's the previous matchups they played this year? You have that?
That one I don't have on that game. Let me double check. This will only take me a second. All right, so the Kings won in LA 4-3, and now this is the second matchup.
Oh, really?
Here in Edmonton. Okay. The Kings are really good defensively, though. They're tied for first now in goals allowed. 2.45 is the average there. They're 13th in goals for, and the Oilers are really balanced this year. 8th in goals for and 10th in goals against. So Stuart Skinner has been much better this year.
Kings have gone under 4 in a row, and the Oilers have gone under 5 straight home games now.
Wow.
So maybe they're playing much better defense at home.
That's it for hockey. 2 totals of the 3 games, so that's pretty good. Let's go ahead and go through our let's take a 1-minute break. When we come back, let's go through college basketball. We'll go through the 4 big games, and then we'll also go through the extra board as well. Don't go anywhere here on Sports by the Book.
We have 11 amazing restaurants featuring a wide variety for every price range and appetite. South Point's Garden Buffet has something for everyone at unbeatable prices. Or, if hunger strikes in the middle of the night, join us at Coronado Cafe. The American menu offers breakfast, lunch, or dinner 24 hours a day, plus a Chinese kitchen for authentic Chinese dishes from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. From steak and eggs to wonton soup, it's fast and friendly service 24/7. When you need a quick pick-me-up, you can find it at our state-of-the-art Starbucks just inside the main South Point entrance. Order ahead with the Starbucks app for easy mobile order pickups. Or enjoy your favorites in the relaxing dining area anytime, day or night. If you love Mexican food, Baja Miguel's has all of your south-of-the-border favorites. There are dozens of classics to choose from, like fajitas, ceviche, chimichangas, tacos, and more. And for spirit lovers, Baja's colorful non-smoking tequila bar is right outside.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here on Sports by the Book. Thank you for watching later. If you're joining and catching up later, we appreciate all of you checking in with the chat here. We do have JR. JR, good to hear from you. Vince, not Sean, made it into the chat today. And sports, Keith Lyle, Dean Hilt. Not Sean, 0-3 with over NFL parlay yesterday. Sean, I feel you. I had the over in the Washington Commanders game, and we could not get any overtime there in that one. And sports did good. 3-2, 4-1. Chargers, Keith Lyle. Yes, we were all on the Chargers. That was a pretty shocking result there, I believe. And then Bob Custer joining us as well. And I brought up Dean Hilt. So thank you all. We'll look back on that. We do have a what do you think about UCLA versus Rutgers from Dean Hilt, and we are going to get to that right now. But let's start off with Minnesota and Maryland. Big Ten matchup here. Ben Johnson's in his 4th year with Minnesota, and Kevin Yillard 3rd year with Maryland. We've got our animation going up right now for our hoops. Maryland 15.5 here at the South Point, and the total 139.
Yeah, the Minnesota team has struggled this year, 2-12 ATS, and they're a big dog in this game. I made Maryland 16.5, so it's right on the number, but the total I have 147, and we've got a 9-point difference on the over. Maryland loves to run. They're extremely fast and up-tempo, outstanding offensive team. Minnesota, they played a lot of slow games this year. When I first saw a couple of their paces early in the year, I thought, what did Ben Johnson do? Go to the Princeton offense or something? And he just wants to play slow, but in games where he's faced teams that play a little up-tempo and he can't control that pace, better teams, the games end up coming high. Michigan State was 90-72. Indiana, 82-67. Michigan State again, 90-68. They beat, I'm sorry, that's Morgan State. Skip that, but they play fast. 158 against Morgan State. He was willing to run in that game. He was willing to run in a couple other games, and I think he'll have to. They'll have to play a little bit more tempo in this game, so I do like it over.
Over 139 in the Minnesota-Maryland game. Moving on to the game that was requested, UCLA. They are 11-5, heading to face Rutgers in this one. We've got UCLA's a 3.5-point favorite, and the total 139 as well.
Yeah, things shock you in sports all the time. Like, how does this happen? Mick Cronin has always been a really strong defensive coach. And they started the year out as a strong defensive basketball team. They right now still rank 9th in college basketball in defense. They're outstanding. And but the last 2 games they weren't. I don't know why. They give up 94 to Michigan at home, and then they just lost 79-61 at Maryland in a game that I thought UCLA was the right side, taking the points. They had home revenge, coming off a horrible game, and I figured that Mick Cronin would, be preaching defense, and they still give up 79 points. This is a little different matter, though, with Rutgers. I made UCLA 4. That's right where the number is, and the total, though, I made 127.5 because Rutgers plays solid defense, and they've got a below average offensive team. Look at their last game at home. They lost to Purdue 68-50, 118 points in that game. Now, they did have some other high-scoring games against teams that do push the tempo and do go up tempo, but UCLA is really not that type of basketball team. They don't push the tempo. They will if they can, but if you get back defensively, they're going to run through their offense. And both coaches have always been good transition defensive-wise, so I like this game under.
Both teams trying to snap their 3-game losing streak. That is something I did want to bring up. UCLA, did they have an easy non-con? Because now they have lost 4 of their last 5 after beating Gonzaga, so they haven't really been able to get back focused into their conference play here.
Schedule-wise, they've you're right, the non-conference schedule was very, very easy. But they did play a couple of decent teams in the last week. Like I said, they beat the Zags, who are one of the top 10 teams in the country. They beat Arizona, who's another really good team. And they beat them in Inglewood. It wasn't even in Pauley Pavilion. They beat Oregon, who's a good basketball team. They beat everybody they had to early with a weaker schedule, but they are getting into a more difficult schedule. The teams they played, Nebraska, Michigan, and Maryland, are really good, but I just didn't expect them to give up 94 to Michigan and 79 to Maryland. That's just not the way they play basketball. So we'll see if they can get back on track tonight with a team that they can probably handle defensively very easily.
Going to an ACC matchup here with Boston College and Notre Dame. That is the next one on the list. Notre Dame, 11-point favorite at home, total 139.5.
Always, a very good rivalry between these two schools. Looking back at what they did last year, Notre Dame lost both games to Boston College, but they are at home here in this situation. And I don't believe they're having the greatest of years. They're not. Micah Shrewsbury, they're 7-9 right now. And I wanted to look. This is his second year, Shrewsbury at Notre Dame. He came from Penn State, where he was there for 2 years and got the job. Didn't do the greatest of jobs. I mean, he turned the program around, but still I think the question marks out whether he can coach or not. They're not a very good defensive basketball team. So I do have them 13. I have them a little bit higher than what the number is, but I wouldn't want to lay that with him.
So just a pass on that game.
They're just a better basketball team. But I have a difference on the total. I only made the total 130. Both teams play extremely slow. You're not going to get a lot of possessions in the game. And Boston College is a well below average offense. It just shocked me that Notre Dame's defense isn't much better than what it is. But my number says it's a play on the under. Play on the under here, Boston College, Notre Dame. 2 more, and then we will quickly go through the extra games here. But Elon University, 7.5 at home against Campbell, total 137.5. Nothing there. I made Elon 7 and 138.5. Furman, you got to lay 6 at home, total 140.5. Furman, Bob Ritchie's a good head coach, does a nice job. I have them 4.5. It's right in the number. My total 151.5. I got a 10-point difference there, but these two teams don't play up tempo. They both play slow. However, offensively, they're much better on the offensive end than the defensive end, especially the Wofford Terriers. They're outstanding. 82nd, I have them ranked right now offensively, and Furman number 122. So my numbers say over there.
And below average defenses for both of them?
Especially Wofford, number 241. Furman's not bad. They got a pretty decent defense. But again, transition defense, they look like they get back defensively. They don't give up a lot of fast break points.
All right, we're going to the extra games.
Okay.
Nice and quick down here. So Prairie View A&M -4, total 165.
I have A&M 7.5. Big difference on the total, 182.5. Love it over. Both teams run. Neither team can play defense, and it's just going to be an up-tempo game. You're going to get 75 to 78 possessions in this basketball game.
Is that making the whiteboard?
Yep.
Okay, over in that one. Texas Southern 17-point favorite on the road, total 136. Mississippi Valley State.
I'm right there, 16 and 137.
Alabama State laying 4 against Alcorn State, 143 is the total.
Right there, -3.5 on Alabama State and 142.5. So Pasadena.
Loyola, Maryland, 2-point favorite at home, total 136.
I have the game pick and 136. It's right there.
Howard, 13-point favorite, total 147.5.
10 and 140.5. So lean to the underdog. I'd have to look and see if there's any revenge factor for Coppin State. There probably is. Larry Stewart in his second year, they're 7-9 ATS. And Howard struggled this year. They're 5-9 ATS. But an underplay, Coppin State's horrible offensive team, but they're the better defensive team getting points. So if we can check and see, if there's any revenge factor there for Coppin State. Let me look real quick and see what they did last year.
Okay. Potentially taking Coppin State plus 13 in this one.
Yeah. They probably do because they've lost every game this year. They're 2-15 this year. Their only wins against Navy and North Carolina Central, who are both really weak basketball teams. But so is Howard. And they lost every game last year. They were 2-27. They lost both games to Howard last year, so they do have revenge. I'll take the 13.
Taking 13 in that one. Let's go to Incarnate Word. 1.5-point favorite at home, total 143.5.
Have to find that game. I have Nickel State 2.5, 146.5.
Okay.
Not the biggest of differences. We can move on.
You don't want to take the point there with them. Okay. Stephen F. Austin, 5.5, total 132.
3.5 and 117.5. So I really like this game under. Both teams play extremely slow. Both teams are horrible offensively, but actually pretty good on the defensive end, especially Stephen F. Austin, 66 ranked in the country. They have a really good defensive team. And Southeast Louisiana, 306 ranking on offense, 150 on defense. So they just been far better, and neither team runs. So they're both below average in pace. So you're going to get a lower pace. And what did I say in the point spread on that game? I made it 3.5. You're going to get, a close game. So late in the game, possessions will be at a premium, and should slow that thing down even more. So I like that under.
Talk to me to that one. That will make my board as well. I like it. South Carolina State, 15-point favorite at home, total 145.
Right there, 14 and 144.5.
Norfolk State, 10-point favorite on the road, total 154.
13 and 164. Morgan State runs one of the faster teams in the country, and they played no defense. Norfolk's better on the offensive end than they are on the defensive end. So Morgan State plays a little bit of pressure defense, too. They're going to force more possession, so I'll go over there.
All right. I like it as well. Over 154 in that one. Where are we now? North Carolina Central, 6.5, total 148.
You have to look at Delaware State and see what they did against, because I only have Central 2.5, 147.5. They did lose both games to Central, but they beat North Carolina Central in the conference tournament, which happens a lot. So I'll pass on that.
Okay.
Grambling?
Grambling 7.5, total 133.5.
I made 5.5, 134 right there.
Southern 6.5, total 137.
I only have 1.5 and 146.5, so it looks like a dog and over for me. Let's look at Bethune-Cookman really quick and see what they did there from Daytona Beach. They beat Southern 3 times last year. They beat them all 3 times, so that's why there's money coming in on Southern in this game this morning, and probably because of that fact. So the total, though, let's see here. Bethune-Cookman's Reggie Theus, Las Vegas boy, played at UNLV. His team's not playing fast, which I'm shocked at because he's always tried to emulate the up-tempo offense of the Runnin' Rebels. 9-5 ATS, though. He has covered this year. And Southern's Kevin Johnson, they run 116th in the country. But 2 really bad offenses. Both teams are way better defensively than they are on the offensive end. I'll just pass that.
Passing that one. Okay, we got Rio Grande Valley 11.5, total 148.5.
Made it 11 and 162.5. Big difference on the total.
Wow.
Rio Grande runs. They go up tempo. And they're a very good offensive team. 11-point favorite I have, so it should be a double-digit game. I'll go over there.
Going over in that one as well. Jackson State, 9-point favorite, total 144.
Right there, 8.5 and 139.5.
Lamar, 13-point favorite at home, total 146.5.
12.5, 136.5, so leaning to the under. New Orleans, a horrible offensive team. Lamar, very, very good defensive team, and they slow you down. The only thing I don't like is it looks like New Orleans' defense is so weak that teams just score fast against them, or they play fast. So I'll pass that.
Passing on that one. Okay, we've got 2 more. Texas A&M CC, 8.5-point favorite, total 144.
I'm going to pass on this one too. 8.5, 138. Nothing really there for me.
And then McNeese State, 15-point favorite on the road, total 138.
I made them 18, but Houston Christians 12-2 ATS this year.
Wow.
Yeah, they've done a good job of covering point spreads. Don't know how. They're a terrible defensive team. McNeese is the far better team, both offensively and defensively. Totals right there.
Very good. All right, we've got a few good plays there in college basketball. We hope they are good plays. Let's take another quick little break so we can write on our whiteboards, get our plays out there, and then we will bring in our guest for the last 10 minutes here. So for Kenny White, Alex White, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here on Sports by the Book.
Once you've satisfied your hunger, get ready for more of the hottest casino games in Vegas. Our 24-hour, 30-table non-smoking poker room proudly hosts all the most popular poker games with a variety of betting limits. Visit the poker room for a schedule of daily tournaments. Whether you're going to hold 'em or fold 'em, the best place for poker is at South Point Casino. You'll notice that our craps tables are usually the loudest in the casino. If you've never played, join one of our free craps lessons to find out what makes this game so exciting. Check with the craps dealer for schedules and give it a roll. Bingo is also an exciting way to spend your time. We offer 7 sessions of bingo every day. Bingo! And each session includes a cash ball jackpot, 12 bingo games, a progressive double action game, and a $10,000 bonus coverall. Electronic units are available. If you haven't played bingo with us, give it a try today. Guests can also get in on the action at our one-of-a-kind race and sports books. 2 separate rooms designed to maximize your experience and comfort. Our sports book, with over 400 seats, puts you right in the middle of the action, 24 hours a day. The friendly ticket writers are happy to help, and it's conveniently located next to the famous Del Mar Deli, where you'll find supersized portions of delicious deli items like roast beef, pastrami, and Reuben sandwiches, or soups, salads, and pizza. Plus spectacular desserts fit for a king. And right next door is the race book. Over 150 seats, each with its own TV screen. There are 16 interactive player terminals, so you can bet right from your seat.
Welcome back, everybody. You're watching Sports by the Book. We are live from the South Point Hotel and Casino. Quieter day on this Monday, so get down here, come see us at the Book. Remember, the only place left in town that has the horse race and the sports book separated still. So get down here no matter which one that you like and you are looking to bet on. I'm Alex White alongside Kenny White, father-daughter. Every Monday through Wednesday, you can find us here at 9 a.m. Sports by the Book. 7 days a week, though, Sports by the Book in the mornings. Remember, Saturday, we have an 8 a.m. start. Now joining us at the desk, we're bringing back professional sports bettor Pete White, my grandfather, and Kenny White's father. So we've got 3 generations here of sports bettors on the desk. Happy to have you back. I want to start with what we were talking about off air, and you were saying we do a good job, which I appreciate, of educating people and trying to help them in the sports betting realm here. But you brought up the fact that now you got to tell people what's next. You want to be ahead of the bookmakers. So go into that a little bit.
Well, I've always thought that you got to try to be ahead. You got to look ahead what's coming up. I mean, spring training is going to start in 4 weeks. I mean, the pitchers will be down there. You got to start getting your information on baseball, getting everything accumulated how you like. Teams that you're going to like to see the differences and what sports are coming up. The other football league will be coming. Is it still the XFL?
UFL. UFL now.
UFL, yeah. They say change it every year. Well, and that'll be back. That's going to be another 10 weeks. You got to find out who the best quarterbacks are, and that because it's who has the best defense and who has the best quarterbacks is the most dominant things beside the offensive line and the defensive lines, you know.
So you print out your rosters of after all of the changes that we've seen in the MLB, right? People are moving from different teams. And then you personally, you rate every player. Yes. And you have a player power rating to make your team power rating. So
right. I've done that all my life, but all the sports, it's just something I got used to doing. And sometimes it works out. Sometimes it doesn't, you know.
But the 2 new sports that you're looking ahead at that you just gave us a copy of the sheets.
Right.
Hockey, what's this, a 4-team event?
Instead of having the All-Star game, they're going to have a 4-team event.
Oh, okay, for the All-Star game. I had no idea. What
round-robin play.
Okay.
And there's going to be a champion.
Oh, okay.
Right. The United States, Canada, Finland, and Sweden.
Oh, good.
And you need to know how good they're going to have all the players from the league. It's going to be interesting, you know.
Okay.
That's a great idea in place of the All-Star because we have seen the All-Star games really struggle in each of the sports.
Right. This will be a competition.
Yeah.
Right? It's going to be, you know, it's per country, you know. So that's good. And then you got the women's basketball coming up, which is going to be this week. 17th. Starts 3-on-3. That's it.
That's this weekend.
And
this weekend?
They're going to play like
Friday. So Friday is the first game.
Yeah, each team plays like 10 games. It's there's 6 teams, and it's some of the best women players in the sport.
Do they play just once a week or
twice a week?
Twice a week.
Yeah.
Twice a week. And lucky for us, we've been following WNBA, and it is, like you said, all the best WNBA players. You two are going to know every women's basketball player. Now you guys are following women's college basketball, and then they're going to, of course, get drafted the best, make it to the W. And then we'll have this 3-on-3 every year as well. So should be pretty popular. A lot of really popular names.
Well, it's only going to be a 70-foot court, full court. It's only 3-on-3, but they're only going to play 7-minute quarters, but it's going to be fast breaks.
They are playing 4 quarters?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. 7-minute quarters, though, but still, it's the court is smaller. But there's a lot of great players. You know, the Phoenix Center, she's 6'8"? She's playing. You know, you just can't run down the court and try to throw a layup over her, you know.
And she's got a couple of good teammates, too. Natasha Cloud from her team in Phoenix and Seto Sabale from Dallas, who's a really good player.
Right.
Really good.
Yeah.
Well, most of the best players are playing, you know.
Must be getting pretty decent salaries. And is there no Elam ending, you know, the ending?
I can't remember what it was. I think there was $150,000 guaranteed or something. But they did pretty good with money, and they're going to have more teams next year.
It's interesting. USA didn't do too well in the 3-on-3 in the Olympics this past year. Could this be prepping for that? I know this was a players-made league, right? A couple of the best. It was Stewie from New York, Nafisha Collier from Minnesota. They're in on this.
They created this.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Well, the big three plays half court, and it's
Okay.
mainly ex-players. There are a lot of ex-NBA players, but there's a lot of ex-college players.
well,
That's a
this year,
completely
they sent more college.
That's
yeah.
a completely different game, half court and full court.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm excited to watch this. And
Yeah, no, there's Brianna Stewart, Jewel Lloyd from Seattle, she was a teammate with for a period of time,
Yep.
and Courtney Vandersloot, who she is a teammate with.
Oh.
So,
Yeah,
you know,
I think it's worthy of trying to get information on it and learn how the teams play. You got to learn the coaches because they're all foreign as far as being a head coach.
yeah.
And then you see who's going to really run. But I think they all have to run. There's only 3-on-3, and you get
Yeah.
the ball, you got to go.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
I think it's going to be really great.
Well,
They're
the
all
courts,
on TV too, so I mean, the women's basketball has really come alive now. That's great.
Well, it is funny listening to you too, though, because right now we're getting into the playoffs and we have the national championship for college football.
Right.
But you guys are professionals and you do this to make money. So you guys are kind of like, the line is what it is. It's too tight. I don't really have an edge. I got to move on to the next sport. What's coming up this weekend?
Right. Yeah. I always look for some kind of advantage. Or
Yeah.
what's the sense of betting? You know, you have to feel like you have a good advantage when you make the bet. You're laying 11-10. Why just bet? I mean, just, go play slot machines, which is a great place right here. Beautiful place here.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and there are so many different sports now that you can bet on. So we'll have to find. We won't really know which books will be making lines for this 3-on-3 or the Hockey All-Star yet, right?
Yeah,
I think
we
they
don't
all
know.
will.
You do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think everyone will put this up.
Okay.
I think, everyone will have the hockey All-Star games. For the All-Star game, everyone will put it up. The 3-on-3 basketball for the women, I think that Don Best will put it on the screen, and all the books they'll put it up. There will be very low limits, though, on that.
Okay.
Maybe a little higher limits on the NHL games because they're countries, and that's something they've had kind of before with All-Stars, and they did the conferences, and I think they've had a little success with that. So, but I think everyone will put both sports up. And I'm surprised women's college basketball, how many games are put up. I didn't think there'd be this many. When I told you let's do the women's college basketball, I never thought they would put up this many games. I really didn't.
Oh, look at yesterday. It was like 25 games they put up. And that's a lot of games.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even when you go to ESPN and they got their banner of what sports you can select,
Right.
it's NFL, it's NBA, it's Major League Baseball, it's NHL, it's college football.
Yep.
But then they've got men's college basketball and women's college basketball right next to each other. So you just click on it and you're right there. And they've always hidden it, but now it's right up in front
Right
center.
there. It's interesting when you go on that site. That gives you the game, and right underneath the game, it gives you the odds and everything.
Right, and
the
they give
total and everything on each one of them what they find out.
Yeah. Well, they have their own sports book too.
Right.
So I don't know who runs that, but somebody does. Well, and
ESPN bet.
National Championship football game is a week from today. Next Monday, we'll be talking about that a lot this week. But you made Ohio State 7.5 and 45, and you had a revenge factor. These two played a couple years ago. 17-14 final. Ohio State beat Notre Dame.
So is that 7.5 with the revenge factor added in?
Yeah.
Okay, so your true raw number would be about 9 with Ohio
10.
State over Notre Dame. 10.
Bad math.
Sorry.
Why'd I send you to Gorman?
All right.
Spend all that money, and you can't go from 7.
I didn't want to assume how many points you gave for the revenge. I was kind of
Usually 2.5 points for almost everything.
Consistency.
Okay.
Consistency.
Right.
Don't change it up.
Hey, I mean, since we started doing this show this year, we've changed it up a little bit because we've been, looking for the tangibles and adding things in.
I talk about home advantage, about that.
Home advantage and revenge.
How much you give for home field, because that changes to the crowd. I mean, I learned that from my dad. He used to love when college basketball teams played in their small home gym.
Oh.
St. John's had a tiny Carneseca arena that was 2,000 seats, or they'd play at Madison Square Garden. He would give 6.5 points in the small gym and 3 points at Madison Square Garden.
Oh, well, that's positive, I mean, it seems like Seton Hall have a real little dinky gym. When when they play there, that's a huge advantage to then playing in the big gym in Newark.
Yeah.
How's Rutgers? Do we know?
downtown New York City, Manhattan. How's Rutgers? What?
Their gym.
No, that's a regular size gym. Yeah.
Okay. Because I was thinking about that with that UCLA game
but there's
today.
still some dinky little places in the country like Fordham and different places.
Yeah.
That would be a tremendous home advantage. When they got all their students there, the places are real loud.
Yeah.
And I remember there was 20 years ago, there was probably about 25 to 30 colleges that had those small gyms, but then they'd also play at the bigger one when they were playing a bigger team. Right. And you had to know that. Right. And in that day and age, if they didn't list it on the sportsbook wall, it was no action. If you could tell them, hey, you didn't post it, but this game was being played in Philadelphia's Spectrum where the Sixers play and not in little LaSalle's gym where it was supposed to be played. So,
well, Connecticut still does that. They go to Hartford and they play at home. And I think there's a difference there.
Well, and still, I don't have the games. I didn't look here, but I'll find it. But St. John's does still play at Carnesecca Arena.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And these teams have actually it's bigger now. I believe that was like 3,000 or 4,000 fans. They fit 5,000 fans in there, but it's such a 5,000 fans when it's sold out.
Yeah,
that's a loud crowd.
I was there years ago. It's a really a loud place. Small, cramped. It's sort of like the Palestra in Philadelphia. That's another place that's great for home. If it's no good if St. John's is playing Temple because it got equal fans.
Right.
But if Pennsylvania's playing somebody there, it's going to be really loud.
I'm going to look. They did play an exhibition game at Carnesecca. They opened the season with Fordham, who's a New York Manhattan team at Carnesecca, Quinnipiac at Carnesecca, Wagner there. Then they went to Madison Square Garden to play New Mexico. So, and I bet you most of their conference games, because they want to get more. They played Harvard at Carnesecca. They played Kansas State at Carnesecca, and they won both those games easily. They played Bryant at Carnesecca. They played a lot of games at Carnesecca Arena now, which is amazing. Not as many games at Madison Square Garden. They played Villanova. They play Georgetown at Madison Square Garden tomorrow, and then they play Xavier. Most of the rest of their games now are at Madison Square Garden. We missed it.
Wow.
In their games early in the year, they played a lot of games at Carnesecca.
I want to bring up one more thing because you were talking about the national championship game between Ohio State and Notre Dame. And when we started this show, you brought up an example about not adjusting quick enough. You want to be on a team that's getting hot. I immediately thought of Ohio State. You were talking about the NFL, but Ohio State, I mean, we just saw them close as a 6-point favorite over Texas. And then, I mean, that game against Tennessee, it was not even close. We thought Tennessee could maybe hang around and getting those points. So is this one of those teams that you have to kind of adjust quickly because they're getting hot at the right time?
I thought of them too when I said that, and you said that. That was going through my mind, but we weren't talking college, so I didn't bring that up. But Ohio State has looked really good. But again, they almost got beat. Texas was at the 1 yard line, first and goal at the 1, and Ohio State did make a great goal line stand to win the game. But I only have the game 7, and I didn't add in home revenge on the game. I could make it 4.5. Circa opened 10, and they've been bet down to 8, and I think that's about where the market is right now at 8. So I really don't have that big a difference. If that's the case, and Ohio State is the team right now that is really peaking at the right time, because that's the thing in coaching in any sport. You got to get your team to peak. And they do peak, and they all peak at a different time. And that's the thing about sports betting, and know that. Remember Dale Brown, when he was at LSU, he could care less about the non-conference games.
Right, yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you knew he had a really good team. Everybody was like, oh, they're not that good. But he was getting his team to peak at, for conference, and they did. And it looks like maybe Ohio State is peaking right now. They could be. I don't know.
Well, I mean, if you want to look at the strength of schedule too, Ohio State has been tested and played by far the harder schedule. Notre Dame, you talked about it throughout the whole
They weren't in a conference.
Whole year. They weren't in a conference. They played Army at Navy. which you don't know really where you rate them even. So that will be a tough thing. And again, with the nutrition, I mean, Notre Dame has just suffered so many injuries now coming into this game. And Ohio State, they had some O-line injuries too, but they were earlier on and kind of worked through those. So it is tough. It's tough to want to jump in here on the dog. Is Notre Dame's defense as good as Texas's?
They're pretty good.
Yeah.
I think this coach has done a nice job coaching, and he's a defensive coordinator by trade. And Al Golden is the defensive coordinator, and he's a really good defensive coordinator. He's a former coach, and didn't make it as a head coach, but he was a, well-liked defensive coordinator. He does a really good job.
And then Grandpa brought up the fact that Notre Dame and Penn State, that should have been a dead under. And that one kind of bit us in the butt. But really, we'd be looking at the under in this one.
I don't have that low of a numbers.
Okay.
I'm a little worried about Ohio State's offense too, that they are pretty potent and they can score. And I do like the quarterback for Notre Dame. As long as the offensive line can give him some time, he's a good dual threat quarterback. So
I didn't like what I saw in that first
they're
half
going to have to
against Penn
score.
State.
They're going to have to score to stay close. But then again, last time they played was 17-14, but it's completely different teams.
Should be interesting. Very interesting. And when you were talking about peaking at the wrong time, again, another team came to my mind, and it was the Pittsburgh Steelers, who they kind of snuck into the top 10 throughout this regular season and then lost 4 in a row going into the playoffs and kind of had already peaked.
Yeah.
So
they just fell right off big time. Yeah, that's surprising. That's hard to follow that when you make ratings.
Yes.
And you're moving up, and all of a sudden the team stinks, and then the next week they get worse and worse and worse. It's just weird.
Well, and then they make the playoffs, and you're thinking it's a whole new season now.
Yeah, right.
They can put that behind them and come out and play better.
The other team is just better.
Yeah.
And they finally got rid of the jinx, and then they could beat them now every time.
That's right. Lamar Jackson, it was a thing that the Steelers were really good against him. That second game, you're right. They covered. He looked good. I think having Derrick Henry gives him like a different sort of confidence now going into the playoffs, but we'll see. It'll be interesting to see what they do with Mike Tomlin, though. What you guys think, he just stays there?
I don't know. I think it's been a long time since they've won a playoff game. They've been kind of mediocre over the years, but again, he hasn't had the quarterback. They just really haven't. They thought they had the quarterback with Kenny Pickett, and they let him go. He might have been the better quarterback. I don't know. He did good for Philadelphia this year.
Yeah. Had plenty of weapons, though, there to help him, so.
Don't forget all the parlay cards here at the South Point.
Parlay cards, come get them in for the weekend.
NFL Championship exactas.
Those are probably off the board right now.
Off the board now, right?
I did get a couple in before Saturday's games that I'm excited about, so we'll see.
South, this is a great place to come and bet and everything, especially with the horses being on the other side, and you don't get conflicts. It's fantastic here.
Yeah.
That's the way it was in the old days. All the standalone brick and mortar sports books, the 2 rooms were separated in every one of them.
And now it's just combined. And now
most have combined, yeah.
There's a lot of places that don't even have chairs and stuff really for your sports book because they want everything on the app. So this one is a good.
Oh, yeah. No, it's a great place to come. There's a ton of seats. Probably a lot of fun to watch a game here.
And then Chris Andrews always says that he used to put up the Chicago Cubs totals.
Oh, Bill Dark?
In Reno. No, Chris Andrews in Reno. Oh. That you told them one time, I like it that you put up the total, the Cub total. He'd put them up before anybody else. Nobody would put them up there.
Yeah, I don't remember that, tell you the truth. What can I tell you?
But we know that you do like the Cubs totals. Right. You were always following those, right? Because you've got a great story with the wind.
You have to have the information on it. Yeah, yeah.
Well, yeah, but then you tell me over the years you came with the stat that if you bet over on every time the wind was blowing out in Chicago there for years, that you were a loser.
I think at one point, yeah.
Yeah. It was, a few hundred plays, too, over a long period of time.
Yeah, well, but people caught on to it, and they knew. So, and you weren't going over 8 with the wind blowing out anymore. You were going over 10 or 11 or even 13.
13
the numbers,
or 14 sometimes.
I remember 13 and a half, 14s. I think I remember even like a 15 and a half there one day. So
they after a while they caught on to that. And
that was the story I always tell. Is I was 12 years old, and you were working I don't know if you were working the Del Mar at that time or you were betting at the Del Mar. Bill dark put the totals up.
Right. No, I was
And
just betting.
you called me, and you had the desk when you walked into the house to the left, and you had 2 phones on it.
Wow.
So you called me on one, and on the other you told me to call 212-976-1212.
Oh, you remember the number?
It's no longer in service.
I can't believe that.
It was the weather, and I got the weather, and you showed me the ballpark and the where it's going, and I said, yeah, it's out to center field, 10 to 20. And you bet it over, and it went under. And then the next day you did the same thing. And I said, it's blowing in from center field. And you bet it under, and it went flying over. And you got home and you said, show me what you're doing. And I wrote it down, north wind. And I said, it's out to center. And you, oh, no, they're telling you where the wind's coming from, not going to.
Oh, wow.
So when they said north 10 to 20, I saw the arrow north pointing to left field, and it was blowing out to left field. And it's so amazing, though, for years, I thought north was out to left center. I think for even 20 years I did it. And then I told him that and this past year, and he said, nope, it's not. North is out to left. I said, are you sure? Yeah. He said, yeah, I'm positive. And I went and looked, and I couldn't believe it.
North is
straight out to left field in Wrigley Field.
Right. Yeah. Well, most ballparks are that way. We're that way.
But and that's why a southwest wind is such a great wind there, because it's blowing straight out to center.
Yeah.
I always thought south was out to left center and southwest was kind of out to right center, but it was still a great wind to bet over. But so, yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
But everybody makes mistakes, because I can go back in history, and I don't want to name names, but the one book wanted to start putting up totals, and they realized they had to get the weather. So they got their best person together, and they made out information. And for the first whole week, they were doing the same thing.
They had the wrong weather?
The wrong way, right?
Yeah.
And then they realized. And there was another big-time gambler in this town years back. People probably wouldn't remember. But I told him about wins, and he came to me one day, and he told me, he says, I'm beating the Montreal totals every day. I'm killing it. And I tried to tell him that it's a dome, but he was winning money, so... Everybody makes mistakes. You got to learn how to do things. I made a lot of mistakes my whole life. So
the thing is, you just have to find as much information as you possibly can.
Much information as you can get, right, and then sort through it, right.
Yeah.
Well, and then so the baseball fields, you actually go through each college and try and find an edge there, right? And where?
Yeah, don't tell anybody.
You'll be betting the college coming up in a few weeks.
Yeah, they start in about a month.
Yeah, in about a month. That's what I mean. You got to get prepared for things. There's so many sports. If you can get good at one real sport, you might be able to kill the bookmaker and make a lot of money for the whole year.
Yeah, and have your niche instead of spreading out too much. A lot of people in the chat now, so that's really pretty awesome. They said thank you guys for the great information. We've got Roger Long joined us now, Agent 87. I don't know if I already shouted him out, but welcome. Frank, I'm sorry. We're in here talking about the Steelers. Jerry as well. And then one more, Cynthia. Cynthia said she likes Notre Dame money line. So we'll see how that one works out. Probably a good price. Let's go.
It's funny. Everybody will probably want Mike Tomlin out as Pittsburgh. You got to remember, everybody wanted Ryan Day out of Ohio State.
Yeah.
When he lost to Michigan.
Right.
He's gone. Get him out. What a terrible coach. And he has the best record of any college coach in college football. And now they're in the national championship
They overcome the big loss to Michigan, which they never should lose. The Michigan wasn't as good as them.
Not even, They went conservative, though.
Yeah.
They went vanilla. They wanted to think. They wanted everybody to think they weren't that good. We're not going to throw the ball. We're going to run it. And we're going to win by running it. And it didn't work. And now they're throwing it. They're throwing deep downfield, and that's how they surprised Oregon. Oregon never expected that.
Gosh, I mean, they have such good wide receivers.
I have 3 plays for you today. Calgary and Chicago under the 6 in the NHL. I'm going with you there, Alex. 2 extra totals. Prairie View and Pine Bluff, I like over 165. And then Southeast Louisiana and Stephen F. Austin under 133.
All right. We have 2 of the same. So I am also in Calgary and Chicago under. I am taking the over in the Panthers and the Flyers hockey game as well. And then I'm also on this SFA under minus 133. And that is it for us. Whiteboard time, JR said. Okay, we got to turn it back around, especially for myself. Thank you both. 3 generations,
Thanks
sports bettors on the desk. I love it. Pete White, Kenny White, and I'm Alex White. Thank you, everybody in the chat. We appreciate you. Please subscribe to the channel and keep joining us each morning at 9 a.m. We'll see you again tomorrow here on Sports by the Book.